They're on.
Najee Ali Baker, 21 years old. Bailey Holt, 15 years old. Preston Cope, 15. Ralph Kennedy, 32. Terrence Wardlow, 59. These are just a minuscule number of victims of the unjust school or gang shootings we've had in 2019 alone. And these shootings are a result of outdated and unjust laws we have in this country. So it's my intent to claim that the US government should ban the sale and ownership of assault-style firearms. I'm going to support this claim in three following ways. One, the Founding Fathers ratified the Second Amendment in an era where technology was drastically less evolved than that of the modern world. Two, modifications can be made to these weapons to make them far more lethal than are necessary for civilian use. And three, it is much easier to get a firearm in the United States as opposed to other countries, and these other countries have outlawed guns that have outlawed guns have drastically lower rates of gun violence. So, to start with the first supporting claim, the Founding Fathers ratified the Second Amendment in an era where this technology was less evolved. Part of this is a human life not worth more than an amendment that was formed over 200 years ago. Irish Times' Lisa Kinikeo, who lives in New York, states that there is no consideration for the greater good, other than an allowance, and there's no allowance for society as a whole. The result of this is a culture, a country that values the individual rights of a person over the welfare of the entire nation. Another claim, multiple other aspects of the Constitution have changed over the course of history. The Constitution is a fluid and, can be amended. Another statement by her, the Second Amendment does exactly what it is intended to do. It created a society that has a society that puts guns, that prefers to own guns rather than stop the killing of its citizens. She goes on to say, it's more important to remember when exactly laws are adopted, because if it was legal to own a person at that time, there's a chance that it may be a little out of whack with our moral evolution. Again, the statement made by Scholastic.com. The U.S. Constitution is a living document, though it may seem like a dry piece of paper. It's meant to evolve and grow as the nation grows. Americans have added laws only to take them back. In 1919, the 18th Amendment was passed banning the making and selling of alcohol. And in 1933, the 21st Amendment was adopted, repealing the 18th Amendment after they realized that it didn't do much. They couldn't stop people from drinking alcohol. So if we can repeal these amendments like that, why is there not a way that we can repeal the Second Amendment? Continuing on to my second claim, that modifications can make these weapons far more deadly than are necessary. The best example of this is the deadliest shooting in our country's history. It was performed in October of 2017 at the Route 91 Harvest Festival in Las Vegas. This shooting was done with a modified version of an AR-15 rifle. It had included the bump stock, which allowed the gun to be fired much more rapidly than a standard semi-automatic assault weapon. The SWAT team members swarmed the hotel room of the gunman, and they found Stephen Paddock in his room surrounded by at least 20 of these rifles that have been modified with bump stocks, and along with some other firearms, including long rifles and unmodified AR-10s. This is a statement made by gunlaw.com. These modifications are entirely legal until after an incident involving them occurs. A statement made by gunlaw.com. Effective July 1st, 2017, large capacity magazines may no longer be lawfully possessed in California. It took 2 years, but after the periods of 2015 to 2016, where we have seen the most mass shootings in our country's history crammed in 2 years. So why did it take so long to pass a bill that banned just large capacity magazines? In a statement by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, effective March 26, 2019, the definition of machine gun is updated to include bump stock type devices that went into effect almost 2.5 years after the most deadly shooting in our country's history. Now on to the final statement. It is much easier to get a firearm in the US than other countries, and these other countries have outlawed guns that have drastically lower rates of gun violence. Acquire a firearm in the United States is incredibly easy and can only take a few minutes. And the state of California Department of Justice presents that in order to qualify for a firearm, someone must present some sort of proof of their identity and age. They have to be at least 21 years old, or if they have a hunting license, they can be 18. They have to have proof of residency. They have to complete a handgun safety certificate, in which they only have to get a 75% out of 100 on a 30-question test that can be administered on site of purchasing a weapon. They have to complete a safety demonstration done by the person selling them that weapon, and they need a background check that goes through a few databases that flag specific keywords if they show up in your background check. And then they have to wait 10 days. For most people that don't have any kind of psychological issues or have never committed any sort of crime or felony in the past, it can be incredibly easy, and you can get, you can go and apply, buy one in 5 minutes and get it 10 days later. And moving on to some countries that have strict gun laws and how their violence rates are much lower than the United States. I'll just cover one for right now. The UK has very strict gun laws. According to the Firearms Act of 1968, machine guns, pepper spray, semi-automatic, and pump-action rifles, and any firearm that has a barrel less than 30 centimeters in length are prohibited. These rifles...
You're out of time, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you give him the time signal?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
I just was trying to...
Okay.